All right, guys, we are live today on episode 32 of the Blue Crocus Experience, and I'm joined today by James Golden, the CEO and founder of Pavement Management Group. And we're just going to chat about, a range of topics. We've already been chatting a little bit off air, but if you want to introduce yourself, James, and give people an idea of kind of where your background and whatnot, and then we'll dive into some more conversation.
Dude, absolutely, man. So those that don't know me yet are going to find out I like to talk. So I'm going to do my best to stay on point.
This is
It's been great.
this is a talking show, so it works well.
That's good, man. Yeah, man. My name is James Golden. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called the Pavement Management Group. When we're in this niche engineering space in the transportation industry, providing data-driven pavement management services to municipalities throughout the United States of America. At least that's the play. We're currently in 5 states and growing. We're developing some artificial intelligence as we speak within the realm of condition assessment. So we're on the condition assessment side of the house, and I've been doing this darn thing for, my gosh, I think it's 22 years now. Believe it or not. I got the hat on today because I'm bald. I like to do it, man. You can see all the gleam and the shine, man. So we'll cover that up a little bit here. I got a little bit of age on me, right? But that's a great thing, So at age 19, I was contacted by a friend of the family, so to speak. And this kind of plays into the thing where it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know sometimes, right? And just something I like to add to that is that's true, but we have to recognize when that opportunity knocks. And this was one of those moments, going back to 1999. Didn't have a cell phone. I was in college, working as an intern for the Department of Transportation here in Ohio. I was getting ready to go to a class actually at 7 a.m. and my phone rang. The old school phone with the cord, right?
Like in your dorm.
What's that?
In your
I was actually, so I attended, so coming out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was one of those guys, I was actually the first to go to college and graduate that from a university in my family. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So, I tell the story. I had a friend actually that summer stop by the house. He was 2 years older than me. And I hadn't, you lose connection, especially back in the day, and there's no social media. There's no cell phones. You actually had to call or knock on someone's door, right? To stay in touch. And this dude, his name was Brandon, man. He showed up at my house, and he was just kind of in the neighborhood type of a concept for that summer. And we were catching up, and I said, "Man, what have you been up to?" He's like, "Well, I went to this technical college out in Columbus, Ohio, for something called drafting design technology." And I said, "Man, what is that?" He's like, "Well, I'm in the mechanical side, so we create mechanical drawings. That's kind of the world I'm going into." And I was like, "Dude, that sounds pretty cool." He was like, "Yeah, what are you doing? You just graduated?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "You know what?" He said, "I know you enough." He said, "I have one of my portfolios with me." And I don't know if anyone's ever seen these, the big, large, envelopes with all the drawings, on that Mylar paper,
Yeah.
back in the day when we were drafting by hand. He brought this thing in, he was showing me these things. And I was just, honestly, I kind of got goosebumps because I was just like so impressed that this dude drew this.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking mechanical parts, the inner workings, all the different layers and levels and views, right? And I looked at, my mom was there, obviously. I was only an 18-year-old kid. Actually, I wasn't even 18 yet. I was 17. And I said, "I think I want to do something like this." And she was like, "Okay, we'll figure it out." So the long and short of it was, within the next month, we identified that Central Ohio Technical College, which is out my way here in Newark, Ohio, they had a program. They had a 2-year program. So that's what I did. I went into a 2-year program. I came out with a degree. I worked for the Ohio Department of Transportation, their production department, while I was doing that. And I was able to learn a little bit about, from the engineering production side of the house, designing roadways, designing parking lots and infrastructure. And now I was the gopher. I didn't get to do any of the cool stuff, right? My claim to fame is on the back end of my internship there, I got to kind of lead up a new parking lot. We used Bentley MicroStation was the software, and I was under the direction of one of the engineers and putting some stuff together. So that's as far as that really went. And like I said, I got this phone call from a friend of the family that said, "Hey, I know somebody that's doing this thing called pavement management. He's a civil engineer. He's starting his own company. He's been doing this now for a couple months, and he needs labor. He needs a laborer. He needs someone to go out there and identify all the issues with roadways, document them. He's going to put them in just, and the guy didn't know. He's going to put them in some type of system and tell them what to do with it. And I said, oh, okay, I'll meet with the guy. Why not?
So this was 2000?
This was 1999.
Okay.
Yeah, this was 1999. 2 years after, I graduated in 96.
Gotcha.
And it just so happened that, I'm a very transparent individual, man. That's the only way to do it, in my opinion.
Yep.
I actually had a kid at 19. So right before this incident happened, I had a child, and I was just going to school. I was doing the intern thing. I was working at Foot Locker in the evenings, man. So I would get my butt up, go to class until 1. I would go work at the Department of Transportation until they kicked me out, or usually around 5:30 or 6, because it was a real job. It was a corporate job, right?
Yeah.
You just can't just stay there and work all day. And then I would go close down Foot Locker from usually like 6 to 9:30, 10 p.m. when the mall closed. That was that guy. But I love sneakers, so that was kind of a cool fit, man. I've always been a sneakerhead, so that kind of worked out.
I like it.
But the bottom line was, this individual was willing to give me an actual job, take a risk on me as he was starting his company. In return, I was taking a risk to make a couple more dollars an hour. When you go back to 99, man, I was making $7.50 an hour at ODOT, and maybe $4.75 at Foot Locker.
Yeah.
I had a young family. We were on our own too.
Yeah, that'll grow you up really quick. I didn't respond much to the kid thing, but that's, I was going to circle back to it. That must have grown you up pretty fast.
It's going to grow you up pretty quick. You're going to make a bunch of mistakes. The really cool thing, full circle, is he works for me. He's 23 years old. He's actually been at PMG, Pavement Management Group, now for, oh my gosh, since he was 17.
That's awesome.
He's 23. He's been here full time, like 5 years.
That's amazing.
Just kind of working. So with that said, man, that's why I love what you're doing, and the other side of it from the paving prospect, right?
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of skilled trades. I'm a champion for skilled trades, to the point where I'm actually a part of the Central Ohio Technical College.
Nice.
I'm part of their alumni board.
Yeah.
So I kind of help drive some of that effort and bring some new innovative ideas to kind of help support those coming out. And then now they're becoming an alumni of the college, working through job placement, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I actually hired a tech 2 years ago that graduated from Central Ohio Technical College. He's one of my best employees. With that said, from an educational perspective, I ended up working for this man. Let's just cut to the chase. I was able to work under this guy. He gave me an ASTM standardized manual. And basically what this thing did is it said, hey, here's a picture book, man. Here's a picture book. There's up to 20 things that can go wrong with these asphalt pavements out here. Your job is to identify these sample locations and then just document what you see. And this was, pen and paper back then. I was just we had like an Excel spreadsheet in paper format.
Yeah.
Lewis Road from James to Podcast Street. That's a section. What's the length of it? What's the width of it? We would kind of use the odometer, some digital measurement instrument devices back in the day that were hooked up to your odometer, and try to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
So GPS and GIS technologies have been a wonder. How far we've come.
Helping you out quite a bit.
And then I would get out of the vehicle. I would get in and out of a car all day. The car would just run for 10 hours a day. I'd get in and out, document what I see, and I would turn this over to this man, who would then take that and put it into a pavement management software package that has all these really cool tools.
It, or was it on the market?
It's on the market. It's one of the, it was actually developed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay.
So it's one of the first pavement management systems. There are so many that have come after that. It's still in use today. We still leverage it for a lot of different uses. Right now, it's part of our ecosystem and our processes.
Okay.
Not necessarily our prime deliverable to a client for usability. But what it does do a good job of is creating the database, putting into the perfect inventory package that the client would want. And that condition assessment side of the house, it does a really good job of calculating something called the PCI, Pavement Condition Index. So if you can imagine, we're all familiar with roadway maps where we live, work, and play all day, right? The towns and cities that you, I, your listeners live in, we know about what that map looks like.
Yeah.
And you can picture that. We can all picture it. I'm a very visual person. We can all picture that in our head right now, and imagine if that map was broken down, obviously block by block. And at every intersecting point, it had a color assigned to it. And that color told you if the road was good, fair, poor, failed. I'm being a little elementary here with it.
That's good. That's good. We got to relate to general as well.
You got it, man. Try to paint the picture here a little bit. Now, that good, fair, poor type concept is being driven from processing actual distress data to arrive at a condition score that's standardized. About half of those distresses that can happen out there on these roadways are load associated. We were talking about some base failures before we were jumping on the podcast, right?
Yeah.
And the other half of that is more climate related. So it's very important to be able to designate between the two and know exactly, the average condition of a specific road could be, say, a 70, which isn't bad. It's a C. We all went to grade school. It's a C. And believe it or not, if you look at the, especially the national landscape in the United States, the American Society of Civil Engineers, they go through their own process in a very quicker, a streamlined form of, if you will, just to get a pulse on what does the nation look like state by state? What do our local roads look like? What do our federal roads look like? Our interstates, stuff like that, state routes.
Yeah.
And by and large, we receive a D to a D plus grade every couple of years from the ASCE. And so that means 60s if you translate into this world of 0 to 100, right?
Yeah.
The point is, the road may be a 70. So from a visual perspective, if you don't have a background knowledge of all this, but it might be screaming that we have load association and base failures. So that's how this process can kind of help our city engineers, our public works directors, get those types of levels of information for every roadway within the entire city. And I've been doing this now, like I said, for about 22 years. The first 10 years of that or so, maybe 11 years of that, I worked for that man and helped grow his firm. I became basically a COO without that job title.
Yeah.
I leveled up my education a little further. I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree in information technology.
Nice.
Where I was as a person was seeing that the engineering side of this is always going to be there. You can always go grab an engineer, but information technology is going to be the key to advancing this effort down the road. That was what I thought. And luckily that kind of paid off, because now there's cloud-based systems, server-based systems. We're doing really cool stuff with geolocated video. We have all these awesome deliverables. So when I look at my career in pavement and knowledge base skill set of understanding pavement and processes and all the different types of treatments that you can do to a road, when do you do them? Why do you do them? For pavement management, if everyone's interested in a definition, I'll make it really simple. The KISS method, right? It's how do we apply the right treatment to the right pavement at the right time? Really simple. What you find,
not necessarily very easy, right?
That's right. If you have this type of a data-driven process behind, you can identify those very quickly, very easily. You can put a dollar amount to that. You can identify the needs of the network very quickly, and you can start producing quality plans that you can, get in front of the public. So now the average taxpayer can start to understand this without talking about algorithms, deduct curves, density, all these things in the engineering world that they're not really relevant to the taxpayer. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I do, man. I take all this data, I create a narrative and a story, a picture book, if you will, with video and charts and graphs. And then we communicate that to our city council members, our mayors, and our public works department, so that we can start building a community, an actual community on how we should approach the maintenance and repair of our roadway networks.
Yeah, no,
very long-winded thing, but that's kind of how we get there.
Yeah, no, I love that. And in one of our previous conversations, you were talking about how you guys have developed a way to basically drive a vehicle around collecting video data, and then you parse that out using AI, and it basically breaks it down and does all that work that you were doing by running the car all day and getting out, taking measurements. It does that all automatically, correct?
That's right. Well, it's not yet, but yet it will in the very, very near future. We are probably about 2/3 of the way. Matter of fact, right after I hop on the call off this, this podcast with you, I'll be on with my developers doing a check-in on where we're at.
Yep.
So we're talking about machine learning. Yep. So you're 100% on point, man. So for business owners that are out there listening, or anything along those lines, when when you're in your craft, your skill, you always need to be looking out for what's coming. What
Yeah.
do you think is coming? I'm probably blessed to be able to say that I'm probably an entrepreneur at this stage in the game. I'm not just a business owner anymore. I've got teams behind me. I've got systems behind me. And I've got investments behind me that I've made a couple key investments in on the other side to advance my agenda, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about the risk reward. You're constantly assessing that. I've made several failures, but at the same time, I'm starting to pay off a little bit, because those overnight successes that we often see or think that we see, they're 10 years in the making. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for those out there that are just getting started in business, stay the course, but make sure it's like playing chess. You got to be thinking 2-3 moves ahead every step of the way. So with that said, our process at Pavement Management Group, the end result, there's a little technology behind it these days. There's some secret sauce behind it these days.
Yeah.
It looks cooler these days. We capture it faster. It's more efficient. Our margin of error is lower. And how did we do that? We made 3 key pivots. So PMG 1.0 is James. I started a company called JG3 Consulting, and it was a pavement management group. I had, I think, 3 clients.
Yep.
And I was actually out there on the pavement yet again. I went from being the COO of a successful firm. I won't get into the story of why that dissolved. That's a good one, though. And I was forced 3 days after Christmas in 2010 to make a decision. At this point, I had 3 kids.
Wow.
12-year-old, an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 8-year-old, and a 1-year-old. Not even one.
Crazy.
So when you think about like monster.com or indeed.com, I mean, Indeed didn't even exist probably. I'm not even sure, but or the classic classified ads. Where was I going to find an opportunity to be a pavement manager or a pavement management specialist? This industry was probably only a decade old at the time, to be honest with you, for the most part. So my mentor was more of a visionary on his side, which was cool. So I said, you know what? I've always been entrepreneurial. There's stories behind all that about, like how I had a paper route at 10 years old, how I had to make my own little pivots and adjustments along that route to make it faster and more efficient.
I love that.
I was a paper boy, man. Those kids don't exist in 2020. You're not going to find a 12-year-old walking around delivering your newspaper, man. But it's hard to believe that major publications were trusting 12-year-olds to collect money, make sales, and get the job done on time. That was my generation, man. That's kind of how I grew up. And I had those major responsibilities at a young age, let alone my chores and everything else that I had to get done as far as being a kid and schoolwork. I was a hustler, man, with baseball cards and stuff like that. Always looking to make $1. Remember, I told you I was a sneakerhead, right?
Yeah.
Our generation started all that. I'm 42 years old. Jordans wouldn't be what they were if kids like me weren't out there buying them when we were 8, 9, 10 years old. Matter of fact, I just bought a couple of childhood Jordans on StockX. Just had to relive some of that, man. There'll be some key pieces. But my point is I was already entrepreneurial, and I had to go at that point. I kind of had to think about these things, and I was comfortable. I had a comfortable job. I'll be transparent. I made $75K a year. I thought I was killing it. My friends weren't doing that. I worked from home. I was a remote employee in the early to mid 2000s when that didn't even exist. That wasn't even a thing. The only time I came out of the office is if I had to go spot check an issue in the field. Or if I was doing implementations, I would travel, get on an airplane, go wherever I needed to go, drive 2 hours, that kind of a thing. And I loved it, man. It was awesome, but I got very comfortable.
Sure.
And then this kind of forced my hand to start my own company. So that's how I got there. Nice. It's one of those things where it was kind of always probably in the works for me to do this, but being transparent, it wasn't the actual plan at that time. Right. And then life just got really interesting, Lewis. I tell you what. So I started that company in March of 2011, JG3 Consulting. I struck a deal with my former boss, if you will. I said, look, man, let's create something to where I can retain the domain names, the website, the 800 number, and all the data, because I was basically the host of all of it. I got to a point where I was that operator who had the relationships with the clients, and I was servicing all their needs. And I kid you not, man, I started JG3 consulting for $20K, $20,000, 20 months, 1,000 a month, zero interest. So I didn't have to come out of pocket anything. I just had to figure out a way, because what we do is high ticket, right? These are $20K to a couple $100,000 type projects. So I just had to figure out how to sell. It's something that I wasn't really used to doing. But the long and short of it was a great opportunity for me to go on my own at a low risk from a dollar perspective, right? Now, I won't get into all of it, but by June, my wife left. By August, September, the big old house that we had built. Remember, this is 2011. So I don't want to use recession. I'll use air quotes, right? The recession was in place. So the house that I built for maybe $350K was now worth $280.
Wow.
Wasn't able to start, the months rack up. I'm by myself. She left. I got 3 kids. Now I'm paying child support. Now I'm trying to make this house payment, right? And there's definitely some stories behind that, but it's Jerry Springer shit, so I won't do it. Another time.
No, that's crazy though. I mean, I'm waiting for it to come to an end here so I can say something.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. Well, I'll stop it, man. Then we'll do some interaction. But so I found myself.
I mean, like the year you start this up and then everything just goes south on you.
Well, to make real change in life, I mean, I think we can all agree. If you see anybody in your personal life or outside of that our mentors we look up, they all have a story. There's no, something I say that there's no story without the struggle.
Yeah.
Right. And this was me at my rock bottom. The real reality was my wife and I did not have a great relationship, man. We got married at 20 years old with a kid.
Yeah.
I already told you that story.
Yeah.
We weren't on the same page. We didn't get married because we were so much in love with each other. We had to just do it. It was because, oh shit, we got a kid, and the family is kind of like, hey, what are y'all doing? You going to get married? And we're like, okay.
Yeah.
And it forced me to go do the work. Like I was telling you, working a couple of jobs. She wasn't able to go to college like she wanted to do it. You know what I mean? So there was just strife, and we didn't know how to figure it out. We were kids, and we were honestly too much alike. We butted heads constantly.
Yeah.
So it was just an argumentative type relationship for many years. And it came to a point where she was actually the bigger person. And she said, hey, I want out. And this was, like I told you, this was right after losing my job. This was me. I hadn't even started the company yet. And the reality was, I thought this was a way of her being the bigger person, because I know I had my thoughts about it. The honest to God truth, man, is she had other plans. That's what I'll tell you.
Yep.
I'll let it roll, man. So one of my friends, actually a neighbor of ours in that neighborhood we built up, those two got close. Because remember, I'm back out on the road again. I'm not working from home. I can't do all the little things. I can't take the kids to school. I'm now out there chasing my business and entrepreneurial dreams, which didn't marry up with the comfy lifestyle we had of the two-week vacations and the new cars, and you get the idea.
Yeah.
So kind of took an easy way out, man. I'll tell you that. But at the same time, I give her the credit for stepping up and saying, this isn't working. I just didn't realize at the time it was because she had another ulterior motive.
Sure.
Yeah. But with that said, she moved out, man. She went to her parents' house. Kids went with them. I kept the house. She wanted nothing to do with the new house. Right. So I'm stuck with that. The one thing that I said in our divorce, agreement, if you will, when we went through that process was like, look, this business that I'm starting, you can do whatever you want. You want me to pay the $30K of credit card debt? I'll do it. You want me to take on and figure out this house? I'll do it. No one's touching this business because I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
And that was my hard line in the sand. And through the lawyer up, process working back and forth, man, I was able to get that done.
Nice.
So the bottom line was, by the end of that year, right? It was just a rough year, dude. I was on the road in the bars every night because that's what I was doing. Facebook 2011, man, I wasn't on Facebook. Did it exist? Sure. Yeah. That was for the kids, man. That was for the kids, right? I don't know what I was doing there. So I was on the road, man. My way to release some steam was hit the golf course or hit a bar. Just be honest with you. And I was alone. Yeah. I'm in hotels every night. And when I did come home, I had the kids. I went all in on the kids, man. I went all in on the kids for those weekends because that's all I could do. and I had to adjust to this. And the reality, the writing on the wall came apparent where I was not able to make that big old mortgage payment. I now had to pay off all this debt. And just kind of like you started your business, right?
Yeah.
You're bootstrapping it, dude. I didn't have cash reserves. I was doing this all bootstrapping on my own. I had no loans. A bank wasn't going to give me $1 anyway, based on my financial situation at the time. So that's that.
This is resonating with me, but also I hope resonating with people who've started their own business, because like you said, every great story has a struggle in the beginning, right?
It does, man. And you know what? And it gets lonely, because especially like starting your business gets lonely because you have that crowd, especially, and I'm 42 now, my circle is tight by design. I've gone through my level up process the way I wanted to do it. My social media feed is by design. My network is by design. And it's hard for people to jump into my circle, man.
Yep.
You want to do it, you do it the right way. You're someone that did it the right way, right? We connected. We had some conversations. You didn't try to sell me anything, and I've got nothing to sell you anyway.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, what you're doing I'd say a young age, but I mean, I know you're not like 20, but you get the idea.
27, it's still fairly young.
Yeah. And it's exciting. Like, and we've talked about this. For me, it's exciting to watch 27-year-olds going through these processes, because what I say to 27-year-olds is, man, dude, imagine if you keep, we were chatting offline, guys, and he said he was up till midnight working. I remember those days.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say I don't have those days anymore, but bro, I earned it.
Exactly.
Right? I put in the
you put in the work, right?
I put in the work.
Yeah.
Now I'm not above the work. I had to write a proposal for a $200,000 project over the Labor Day weekend, right? But my work is different than that type of grind and hustle that it was where you're at. But that's your commitment and dedication. And what I say is, man, can you imagine if you keep this up for 3 years, for 5 years, let alone when you get to this stage? Dude, it's probably it should be pretty exciting for you. And you never want to like hit fast forward, especially because I know you got young kids.
Yeah.
You don't want to miss out on any of that stuff. But even for me at 42, like, I can't wait to see what 50 looks like, man. Like, it's exciting. And I think that's the drive that's keeping me going. Because I've now been in this industry for 20 plus years, and I have my days where I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. No, Alyssa and I talk about that all the time. It's like, imagine what 5 years from now looks like. Because I look back 5 years, I had no idea what I wanted to do even 5 years ago, really. And I look forward 5 years. I don't know what I'll be doing in 5 years. This will probably have morphed into something, some partnership, some exciting something. But I've got to put in the work now to make sure that I'm ready for whatever comes in 5 years, right? And it sounds easy. Some days it's, some days I sit here and I wonder what I'm doing, and then I have to go back to why I'm doing it. Just in full transparency, like you're saying. I did work late, but this morning it was a pretty slow start. I didn't feel like I was really making any progress. And so, that is the entrepreneurial journey. And I think that, you've got to stick with it. Otherwise, you're going to be in the same place you are today in 5 years.
Dude, I love it, man. And what I would say is, we're all human beings. We all have pitfalls. We all struggle. We all fail. And the best advice I give to anybody is what you and I are doing right now, is we add value to each other. And then maybe, others that are on the podcast. Hopefully that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a success formula that maybe I'll share with you guys here in a few.
Yeah.
But my point is when you can get into the same room of those that have your back, as well as finding the doors to open of those that will, from a place of value, that have a little more experience. They got a couple more gray hairs in the beard, man. They're willing to say, let me share some experiences with you.
Yeah.
Because I prided myself. I used to pride myself in my 30s. Is like, man, I'm a confident guy, man. I'm not gonna lie to anybody. I'm not gonna say I'm a cocky son of a bitch or anything like that. But I'm confident. I've always been confident in what I'm able to do. Doesn't mean I don't struggle in certain areas, okay? But at the end of the day, I was priding myself on being this person that was, yeah, man, I got my shit together. I'm on point. I'm confident. I'm strong. I'm mentally tough. I'm smarter than most. I say that slow and reluctantly because that was my damn mindset.
Yeah.
So, okay, maybe I was a little cocky in my 30s, okay? The bottom line was, and I liked that. I liked people kind of coming to me for the answer. But then I woke up one day, late 30s, about 6 years ago, probably. I was probably 35, man. I said, dude, I had an aha moment, and it was Pavement Management Group. It was still JG3 Consulting. I had 2 employees. I was tapping out around 400 to 500K of revenues every year. And that's when I wanted to work. The years I was taking it kind of easy, because honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I honestly thought initially, like when I started my company, was go work my ass off, get a couple people behind me, right? Give them a little bit of a system, let them go do the work. I'm just gonna kick my feet up on the desk and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let them work.
Yeah.
Well, so I did that. The other side of the story is by year 2, I had a new relationship, man. I was reinvigorated with my current wife, man. She was an awesome person. She was a go-getter, and she was in a different state. She was down in Florida. I was up in Ohio, and we were working on, because we had been dating long distance, man.
That's crazy. That's long.
Alyssa and I dated for 2 years.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say, yeah, if you want to test that type of thing, do long distance for 2 years.
That's brutal. Yeah, we did. Ours was only 3 hours, but still. I mean,
yeah. Hey, 3 hours, dude. 3 hours is a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I like to say from the relationship side of the house is you had 2 people, her and I both, that were coming off of divorces. I had 3 kids. She had 2 kids.
Yeah.
Right. And she's a baller. She worked for a large school district down south, one of 5 administrators running 80,000 kids. Right. Wow. And so her career was important to her. That was her education. She's more from the education side of the house. I'm Mr. Entrepreneur, man. Let's go figure it out.
Yeah.
We had some butting heads, initially on some topics, but hey, we respect each other, and it's kind of grown to where we both kind of understand each other nowadays. It's been a lot of years we've been together now.
Yep.
The point is I got really comfortable again, man. I got comfortable. I had people doing the work for me. I was now trying to figure out how to move everybody together, come together as a blended family. I found love again, man. And I got lazy from the business perspective, and I almost lost it.
Yeah.
Because I sat down at the end of the year, and man, I was at an 8K shortfall. I was used to writing myself distribution checks for 50 to 100K on top of the salary I was paying myself, man. And I got humbled pretty quick, dude. I realized I was failing in a lot of areas. So I had to go back to work. I pivoted. So the 2.0 was Pavement Management Group.
Okay.
And I had to give up. JG3 is my nickname, James Golden III. I had to give that up, which is hard to do for some people sometimes. It's something that I said, no, man, I got to give that up. I got to go figure something out brand new. So hopefully I'll keep working at it, and someday the brand can stand alone on its side. And how did I get there? Man, I started finally doing some personal development, reading books. Like, you got an immense library behind you. I can see it. You know what I mean? I'm fortunate to now have something like that myself. I wasn't doing this at 27.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doing it at 37. But hey,
Truthfully, we all got to start something. That's the combination of Alyssa and my to read books as well. So
it's all good, man. Yeah. We're not going to front, man. We know you didn't read all those books, but it's okay. The point is you have them in there.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where when you put the things, like you see my things behind me in my office, when you can walk into your office every day and you have a visual reminder of something, it helps you stay on track.
Yeah.
You work out probably, man. I know you're a big dude. Working out is something I've always struggled with. I just started doing a lot of that in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I have my days and I do my challenges, and the days I don't want to do it, you want to know what I do? I go find a shirt, for example, a t-shirt for one of my crew, like 365 Driven. A friend of mine, Tony Watley's got a great group, a great podcast. I'll give him a plug right there.
Yeah. Awesome.
365 Driven. I'll throw that shirt on and I'll go on my run. I have a friend of mine who runs a gym out in Frisco, Texas. Calls himself the Fitness Ninja. His tagline is "Make America Fit Again."
I love it.
So what do? I'll go throw his t-shirt on. I use cues and objects. I told you about the sneakers. Clearly, I buy Jordans. It's one of the hardest working individuals you'll ever find on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
Go watch the 10-part series, The Last Dance. I
haven't yet. It's on the list.
It's on the list, man. And I'm one of those guys that was the kid that there was no DVRs, man. If I wanted to watch the Bulls and the Chain, I had to sit my ass down and watch it as a kid. And it was cool to see that. And then being an adult and being able to go back and hear the actual inside, track. Tim Grover wrote a book called Relentless.
I read that. So good. So good.
Phenomenal book. And what did that do? It opened you up to who Tim Grover was, his process, his program, and what it takes to be a cleaner, a closer, right?
Yeah.
Cleaner's where it's at. You think it's a closer? No, you need to be a cleaner.
Yeah.
And you see the Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant were the epitome of that. And then you have to find ways in your business to say, man, how do I put that to action, in my business?
Yeah.
I'm not out here playing in front of 20,000 people every night, right? So how do I, create that environment for myself and my business?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a challenge.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's how PMG showed up, man. That's how it showed up. It was a combination of my skill sets, my upbringing, obviously, and bringing it all together and saying, I'm going to found this company. And then 3.0 is something that you hinted on. In 2017, I got smart and I said, look, everybody's doing 360 Google type imagery in our field, or looking at satellite imagery. There's people playing with drones right now, which is kind of cool too. I said, but you know what no one's doing is looking at actual high definition video of roadways. What if I buy a GoPro for $600? I don't remember how much it cost. I drove a Honda Accord at the time. Let me throw it on there and just drive around and capture some videos, because you can do it Bluetooth, nowadays.
Yep.
You create a wireless connection, not Bluetooth, wireless connection, you connect. So I live in the city of Heath, and it just so happened that became, being the attractive character in the community, the mayor reached out, said, hey, I want to learn more about what you guys do, because we know our roadways have issues. We want to put together a plan to put in front of the voter, the taxpayer, because we need more money. And I know this city, they do. You get into some of these cities where, even though I'm a proponent for preventive maintenance and preservation, these roads are too far gone. We got to do something day one and then create the preventive plan on the back end.
Yeah.
So being a public person in the community, I was, elated and humbled to have an opportunity. And I had played with some of those videos. So what I did as a value add is we did it our current process way. I also collected all the videos, and all by myself, I went through all those videos and I processed all the data. I post-processed it, and I can see everything. It's in HD. It's clear. I can see all the ruttings, the alligator crackings, the depressions, the potholes, all these different issues, man. And then we did a side-by-side comparison, what the team did against our old process and what I did with the video process. And guess what? 3% margin of error.
Wow, that's cool.
So if I told you the average roadway network condition in your city is a 67, a 65, a 68, it's apples to apples. It doesn't matter. Yeah. The issue is where someone says it's a 42 and you're like, no, man, it's a 70. So this was against a standardized approach and system. And I said, there's my aha moment. So I gave the city of Heath all these videos on top of what we were contracted to do just as a value add. I went right to work creating some systems behind that. And then I had to find an AI partner, because I knew if I could see it, I could teach the machine to see it.
Yeah.
Let's take James's 20 years of experience, man, train the AI model so it just does the work for us. I personally believe it's another one of those aha moments. It's a risk. I went all in on this. Actually was able to invest in a company, not just sweat equity. I got 10% of an AI company who was willing to do all the work. The one thing that you can't really do a Google search for when you look at imagery, you can find any image you want on the planet, right? Go look up slippage cracking, medium severity. You'll find a few ideas, but you're not going to find the 10 to 20,000 images of it to machine learn.
Right, exactly.
There's companies out there who are leveraging other ways to do machine learning for roadway condition assessment. I'm going to do it against the standard. So that's the mindset. You have to have, again, maybe the cockiness coming out a little bit, but it's how do we leverage yet again what the world probably wants, and let's bring pavement management processes and systems to the masses who probably couldn't afford it before. These are high ticket products, man, anywhere from $300 to $500 a mile.
Yeah.
You can do the math on that. Like the city of Cincinnati, is a former client of mine, actually. 1,000 miles, man, that's a $300,000 contract.
Yeah.
Right? This process that we're talking about, standardized data, objective in nature, the camera does all the work. We just have to QC and project manage. So we're going to become not just a condition assessment company, we're now going to become a project management firm, if you think about it, and deliver high quality results to our clients that they can leverage and work with to better manage the roadway networks. And we should be able to do this a little bit cheaper because you're leveraging AI. Day one, it might be about the same price point because let's face it, businesses have business models and the business model is set up against this. But if you're smart and you look at ways to reduce those overhead costs but improve margin, now you can scale. Businesses like growth and scale are not the same thing, but we hear those. How many times have you ever heard someone talking about growth and scale all at the same time? When you look at businesses, if they're talking about it, they're using the same two words in the same sentence.
Kind of interchangeably. Yeah.
Not the same, right? Scale is how you exit your company. It's how you get bought out. It's how you improve your valuation. Growth, of course, and that's what we're doing at Pavement Management Group is we're in a growth period where we're going to be able to pivot just one more time here in the next 12 to 18 months and turn this thing on. It's like a light switch too, man. You turn it on.
Yeah.
It'll be that simple once we have faith and confidence in the results. Now, all of a sudden, a project that would take us 60 days is going to take us about 30.
That's amazing.
Right? And you can respect this and understand this because that's what you do, man. Now it's just developing a pipeline, getting the leads, getting the right offer in front of people for the business. But I believe in the win-win situation. Do this to where everybody's winning.
Yeah.
Actually add value to the marketplace, right? And, that's kind of what we're resting our laurels on today at Pavement Management Group is we believe that artificial intelligence will dominate this space for recognizing conditions and bringing high quality data to the masses at a great price point.
I love that.
And then the actual software side of the house, there's many of them out there. Again, we're standardized. So if you're a city who has other needs and needs a higher end software system, we'll throw it into yours. If you're a township that has 12 miles but still want the benefits of it, we'll give you this one.
Exactly.
You get the idea, man. Yeah. So that's it, full circle, man. I appreciate you kind of letting me share my story and what we're up to and what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what this is all about. And I'm actually looking at a way to turn these into a written version. I've got a couple different things on the go and publish them as blogs too. So that, that's more exposure for everyone who's been on. But I know you've got to go here in a few minutes, but let's wrap up with kind of some business and, success stuff. I know on your Facebook, you are hoping to kind of help people as a business coach as well. So maybe drop some stuff here at the end. You've plugged kind of the business here. Let's plug a little bit of your, personal development coaching side of things and drop some value before we wrap up.
I really appreciate that, man. So what you're seeing from me, and it's okay if we run a few minutes long. I mean, it really is. But
okay.
What you're seeing from me is somebody who's now, like I said, 42 years old. I have this path and route around age 50 of where I want to go. I have actually finally figured out what I want to do in life, right? And
take that, all you high school kids who are stressing.
Yes, man, guys. And I have high school kids, man. I've got a 16-year-old daughter, 13-year-old daughter. I got a 10-year-old daughter. I got a 23-year-old son and a 19-year-old son, bro. So the stresses of them going to school these days are very different from what we had. That's a whole other probably podcast. But
yeah,
the reality is, like, I'm finally figuring out the things I like to do in life. It's really cool as I become more of a public individual, the things that I do. People that reach out to you and say, hey, man, I think you can help me here. And I'm at a point where I want to do that as much as possible. Like I get enjoyment and fulfillment of helping others succeed. I love watching people win. But at the end of the day, I'm the CEO of Pavement Management Group, man. I owe it to PMG to see this thing through. And I believe it's going to take another 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to be able to do is start slowly but surely building, or just like you said, man, you never know where a joint venture or a new direction, a partnership can exist. But if you don't take action, you'll never get anything.
Exactly.
This is just me being vulnerable and being actionable and saying, look, JG3 Consulting is right back on the table. I never let it go. It's just a repackaged consulting firm designed to do exactly what you're saying. I'm not out there flaunting or taunting that I'm the next Tony Robbins. Man, no. I got a ways to go if I even want to go in that direction, right? But what I do know is if that's something I aspire to be, I got to start.
Yep.
So Golden is my last name. I threw an A in there. And
yeah,
I know
show us the wall behind you for everyone on YouTube.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So these are kind of my motivating things back here. I kind of played off of one of my groups and created this golden structure. Where the idea really came to play is my son, the 19-year-old, was a high school soccer standout. He opted not to go to not to go to school to play soccer. I'll just tell you that he's at the Ohio State University for something different. He's looking to play club out there when we get things back up and running. But the
Nice.
point is, when he turned 16, I'm a personalized plate kind of a guy. You can actually see my Ford Raptor sitting out there in the background. PM Group is the license plate. JG3 was my Acura's license plate. I got him golden, because of soccer goals. And it wasn't until like last year, man, actually after he graduated, I was like, man, why am I not using that for like, business? Golden is the obvious part of it, right? It's our last name. The A stands for action, for taking action against that. And we all know how to set goals. The catch is, if your goals aren't SMART, we know that acronym, you're not going to achieve those. I'm just as guilty as the next person. So this is me slowly but surely feeling it all out, how I'm going to leverage this type of brand I'm trying to create. I have a podcast called the JG3 Project, and all that was me learning, taking action and learning.
Yep.
I published probably 40 some episodes. I was consistent, on point. I leveraged the platform to do that. I didn't advertise it much because the goal wasn't to just let that be it. It was more of a science project, school project.
Yep.
And now I'm ready to turn that on, man. I'm now ready to marriage whatever business concepts and ideas that I have of value to, as well as my roadway experience. And, I'm not really sure what it's going to be called. The Road to Golden, the Golden Road, the Golden Touch. We'll play off of that a little bit here, and then I'll start that. And I'd love to have you as a guest when we do that.
That'd be awesome. I appreciate that.
The goal is to bring in leaders in their respective spaces and talk about specific things, more conversation like you and I are doing.
Yeah.
Tell the story, man. And I'll probably do Q&A stuff with it.
Yeah.
But I also want to get our public works, our mayors involved in the conversation. So it's going to be a combination of leadership, kind of centered around real world issues. And what better one than infrastructure? That's kind of my wheelhouse, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
and if I'm able to level up small business owners, I mean, let's be honest, like if you're somebody who wants to go to 9 figures next year, I'm not your guy, right? I'm not your guy. I can connect you to some people there because they're my mentors. They're my coaches.
Exactly.
Right? That's where I'm shooting for. We'll do 7 figures. We're working towards the next level, man. I'm someone that believes in levels. There's levels to life. There's levels to everything, and sometimes that can be materialistic, but it doesn't have to be. That's not really the objective or the point.
I think it makes you comfortable with where you are because I know my level right now, and it helps me. It takes the competition out of things, and it takes that. For me, there's this gut reaction when you see someone who's in the same space as you. It's like, they're just on another level. They've been working at it harder and longer, maybe not harder, but they've just been working at it and honing their craft, and that's exactly what I'm doing, right?
Dude, 100%. And you're going to see some more branding from me coming out about this on my personal Facebook page. I'm public. I'm open. I talk more about those types of concepts than I do with the roadway stuff. Yep. I do a lot of that on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Whereas on the LinkedIn platform, I'm not trying to be some type of a business coach because I set my network up by design there. So now it's kind of fun, right? It's like, hey, I kind of know what I want to go in the next 8 years of my life. I got to get started though.
Yeah.
Right. You want a pavement management expert? Man, I'm the guy. I'll put myself against anybody on the planet, not just in Ohio, not the United States. That's just where I'm at, man. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
I just got asked I just did some teachings for a respectable company, man, giving some CEUs to some engineers and stuff like that. Nice. You want me to, like I said, you want to go to 8-9 figures next year? I'm not your guy. But if you're somebody that's in business who is either thinking of starting a business, or if you've been in business a year or two and you've yet to hit that 6-figure mark where you figure out how to pay yourself, I'm probably your guy. I'm someone, if it's a good fit, it always has to be a good fit, right?
Yeah.
Where I can probably help you. And I only take on 4 clients at a time. I've got 2 I'm working with right now. And again, I mean, I'm advertising it because we're on a podcast. I'm not really advertising that out in the real world.
Yeah.
Like you see my feed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, hey, I got 2 more spots open. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Because the 2 I'm working with, I get to go all in with them.
Sure.
Help level them up. And if the opportunity shows, great. But I know myself too. Like I'm not the first to reach out and say, hey, I want to hire hey, you're my coach, Lewis. Let's do it. How much is it? $10,000 a month? I have to be kind of persuaded a little bit. I have to see the value. I have to be bought into it.
Exactly.
So my goal is to just kind of continue creating the content, put the narratives out there, be the attractive character. That's what we all do. And then let that kind of play out. I have a Facebook group called the Golden Collective. And I'm not 100% sure the direction I'm going with that yet, right? So part of me wants to do more of a mini mastermind, low ticket,
Yep.
and say this is just an ancillary part of it.
Yep.
But yeah, man, you got to come in. You got to bring 97 a month. The other part of me says, nah, man, let's just do this on a freemium model, get some good people in there, good conversation, and then just see how it goes, right? So you'll probably see some plugging on with that.
It's a journey. It's a journey, right?
It's a journey,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like when you talk to some of these, because I have coaches, just like you potentially do, man.
Yeah, I've got some.
I'm like, hey, what should I do here? And I say half of the one is like, no, man, make this a free group and then go upsell. I'm like, well, I don't really want to upsell anything. I don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
I don't have a high ticket coaching offer for 10 grand a month, right? I'm not that guy. But I'm thinking I can bring in the group, bring value, bring others into my circle that I've got that I trust and respect. They can also bring value. So that's why it's called the collective.
I like it.
Initially, it was like the collective of coaches, but it's also been the collective of the right-minded people. So I appreciate you allowing me to kind of talk about that a little bit. Hopefully that makes some sense to some people listening, and we'll see how that progresses in the next couple months. I want to kick this thing off by October 1. So
you don't have much time left, James.
I don't have much time, man.
No, that's awesome. And I think the thing, I've become increasingly, I started this podcast with, I wasn't really sure where it wanted to go, where I wanted it to go. I knew that I needed the speaking experience because the first few episodes, if you listen to them, like, don't listen to them because you want to hear me be eloquent. I didn't know.
Yeah, I love it.
But even my wife has said, and people that I talk to, and they haven't talked to me for a little while, they're just like, you're so much more comfortable chatting, carrying on a conversation. And so that's a huge win for me. I didn't know that was why I started it. But looking back, I'm glad I did. And I guess what I want to say to people is just start something, fail as fast as you can in it, or don't fail and just pick yourself up and learn from it. Right. Like, I don't know where this podcast is going to be in a year. My goal is to do 100 episodes and then decide what I'm going to do with it. It may morph into something completely different. I don't know, but it gives us a chance to chat. It gives you a little bit of a platform, hopefully. And we're learning and growing together, right?
That's right, man. Well, congrats on your successes and what you're doing, man. Appreciate the time and the opportunity. Thanks to all the listeners who listened to this one, and I'll see y'all down the road.
Sounds good, James. Appreciate your time, and we'll definitely be catching up.
All right, brother. Take care, man. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.